Hey everybody, I'm here in Houston, Texas, Zone 9A, and I'm taking a look at my garden in not late August, early September. And it is still blazing hot here in Houston. And so right now I'm in the phase of keep it alive. So in this wonderful pot that I just planted a few weeks ago, I've still got this wonderful phlox that's doing great. And it's got lots of new growth. And this cute little vinca. And then of course the gomphrena straw flowers that I started on there. And then the zinnias, of course, are doing really well, especially this one that's the wrong color for my garden, but I'm keeping it. It's so beautiful, but it's almost too orange to be in my color scheme, but that's okay. Happens all the time where I let stuff in that I really didn't plant. One of the things I've done, and the squirrels have eaten most of them, dug them back up, but right down here, I went to Whole Foods and got a bunch of carrots, and I planted one, and this is one of the only ones that has not gotten dug up and eaten by the squirrels. But in the spring, that'll be 5 feet tall and covered with white flowers, and I just loved doing it last year, and so I'm doing some more this year. This coneflower that I love is struggling. It's still blooming, but I had a couple that have died. And that flood a couple of weeks ago with the sprinklers that didn't go off didn't help. They're pretty ratty looking. But again, I've got some new growth down at the bottom, and I may trim these back pretty hard and see if they can come back. I've got some self-seeded zinnias over here. I don't know what those are going to be. And this is where that Agastache Tutti Frutti was, and I thought it was coming back. I was all excited about all this new growth, and then I realized that's not what this is. I think this is evening primrose, which is wildflowers I threw out last year. And the Tutti Frutti Agastache is this, which is, I don't know if this is dead or not. I bought a little bit more in the mail. And so we'll see how that goes. It was so beautiful this spring and summer that I just can't live without it. So I spent a chunk of money getting them to mail me some. And so hopefully those will be beautiful next year. But it'd be great if some of this still survived. Now, what I've got going over here are jalapenos, and they are still just producing like crazy. And I'm still eating. See them all. Look at that. You can see them, here everywhere. And I'm still eating the jalapenos that I grew last year, so I'm just kind of letting them go to seed. I bought some fabulous zinnias a week or so ago. And then one of the things I did was I threw out seeds for Echinacea pallida. Let's see if I can get it in focus. So you see all these little seedlings here, and here. That's all Echinacea pallida. Literally, I threw them on the ground. Here are the ones I've been babying since early spring. So I think the ones in the ground look better than this, and I'm just waiting for it to cool off to put those in the ground. I've got some zinnias going really well. I replanted some. A lot of my zinnias didn't come up at all. My perennis milkweed has not come up yet. All this pipe vine came up. I took some of these. They're in the shade right now, but I took them this morning and pricked them out. But the roots were so small, I just decided to leave most of them, leave them in here. I've got some sunflowers popping up. I don't know if I'll have enough time before a freeze for those to flower, but I'm hoping I will. The zinnia called Lilliput came up really well. There's only one I put 2 in each one, and only one of them didn't come up out of that whole sowing. And then I've got pansies. I'm trying to get a jump on pansies. I've only got one coming up so far. And then these zinnias have not come up at all. So we'll see. You know, it's been very hit and miss. I'm surprised the zinnias haven't come up. And then I've got basil, which, you know, I don't know what to do with. You can drive to my house and I'll give you some, because I already weeded out a whole lot of that. There's, hello, Miss Stoutfire. You need to be in the picture. I've got a basil from the spring that looks about like a shrub still. It looks really nice. And then the view out is nice. I've got the Salvia black and blue right here that's looking good. I trimmed back most of it and left some for the bees. And then of course the plumbago looks great, and behind it is some the Salvia amistad. And you can see right here is the Salvia Lucantha, and it's just starting to bloom. And those are the plants that I put up through the supports to see if I could help them stand up and not flop over. And I think they look really nice from here, and they're gonna look really nice. That's my kitchen window. So they're gonna look really nice from my kitchen window. But when I walk around, you'll see that I'm not entirely sure it was successful when you look at it from the other side. Now this was funny. I was watching a garden video. What's the YouTube channel? It's called The Middle-Sized Garden, and it's she's a British YouTuber, and she had visited someone's garden, and they were like, oh, we found these amazing little tiny bulbs, and they, you know, they look a little bit like baby little agapanthus, and they were so excited about them. And I'm thinking, that's society garlic. I have that in my yard. We have that, you know, along the highway. And it was so pretty. This lady had it in her yard that I thought, I had some in the front yard that hasn't bloomed all summer. This is literally the only flower I've had for like 6 months. And so I thought, well, I'm gonna dig that up, put it in a pot and nurture it along and see if I can make mine look as sweet as hers does, and not just treat it like, you know, something we would just buy at the grocery store for $1. So trying to give it a little respect. And I ended up with 2 other pots as well. Here's this Nearly Wild, which just looks so great. And I'm really loving, I'm being really careful not to let it go overboard, but I'm really loving letting this purple sweet potato vine grow up through the middle. And I just trim off leaves here and there and let the ones I like the look of stay. And then I've got this is the leaf shape of the purple sweet potato vine that I have, and I've had for years. And then this year, this popped up. I did not plant this. This is a sweet potato vine also. So these huge, huge leaves, and it seems to be kind of mixed in, and it's kind of romping across. And I'm just letting it, it's really neat, but I swear I did not plant that. I have no idea where that came from. And I'm letting it kind of go a little bit, just a few leaves through these zinnias. And then this is that little blue salvia. It seems to have done best in the fullest, hottest sun, but it just, you know, it doesn't bloom that much. I've got a few little blooms here and there, a few here. But it just is, I'm not impressed. It looks pretty here, but anywhere with any amount of shade, it has not been thriving. I can't think, I'll put in the description the name of this salvia. I can't think of it off the top of my head. And then this is another little salvia that's been okay, but it doesn't look terrific. I'm seeing some new growth down at the bottom, and I'm hoping that this will sort of flush back out for the fall. Here's my crazy echinacea that is still blooming, my little double-sided friend. It just got confused and decided to bloom for both sides of the yard. Here is where I was thinking today, you know, when they tell you you should plant these plants a certain number of inches or feet apart, and as gardeners we all ignore that because we want instant satisfaction. So this is the pink muley grass, Gulf muley, and you can see that, you know, they've finally gotten big and so fluffy. But right here in the middle, you know, they're too close together. And so if you're looking for the form of the plant here and there, like little starbursts, this is where they have plenty of room. But in the middle, where they're too close together, it gets kind of muddled up. And so if you really are looking for form and shape, you know, you're going to have to sacrifice your instant gratification needs and plant them as far apart as, you know, the instructions tell you to. I clearly did not do that. You can kind of see over here, you know, I just bought a single pot. I don't know the name of it. It wasn't, lost the tag. I think it never had a tag. But I have one. I just have one. So that shape, now we had our lights, we got them put back up, but these, the string lights fell down on it. And so that's kind of messed up the form of it. But you can see that it has plenty of room to have its whole sort of starburst, rounded shape. And that they all have room. None of these inflorescences are sort of fighting for space. So it actually has a really nicer form in some ways than the pink muley. Well, I put my, oh, there she is again. Hello, Mrs. I put my succulents back out in the middle. It's dropped into the mid to low 90s. And we felt like that would be cool enough. It's hot as a person because the humidity is so terrible, but these plants, you know, I learned really this year that the heat index doesn't work for plants. It doesn't mean anything to plants. 95 to them means 95. 95 to me, with the humidity of 95, feels like a million. But plants, 95 is 95. So these, I think, will not be too stressed out being here now that it's not getting into the high 90s. I've got a few little things. These are the daylilies that I moved, and they're doing all right for having been dug up and transplanted. They're the other ones over there. And I just sort of move things around. I had something die. I'm getting ready to replant. I bought this little plant, this little succulent in here for a particular pot, and it was too big. And so I just sort of tucked it in here. But then yesterday I noticed that I had a dead succulent. You know, you never know with succulents. I've got next to it, same pot, it's blooming and so pretty. This little thing's fine. And then I found this yesterday. I'm like, I don't know what happened, but I'll put that little extra plant. And then some of these are just so pretty. They're just really doing well. And then I've got my scented geranium, which is so leggy, but I'm just letting it go. I trimmed all the dead off of it, and I'm just letting it be leggy. I'm embracing the legginess. And then I did have one, I've got scented geraniums here, and they really sort of died back. This one's popped back a little bit here, this one's popped back, and then this is new. I bought a new piece to fill that in. It looked too sad. And then this amazing, gigantic aloe has got seed pods, and one of them I noticed popped open today. And so I'm gonna see if I can grow an aloe vera from seed. So I'm excited about that. I have no idea. I've never done that before. So, and I've got three backups. And then while I'm up here, we could check in on the succulent leaves that I've been kind of watching for the last couple of weeks. Of course, I found Mrs. Doubtfire sleeping on top of these in the little box, so I sort of have messed with them a little bit. But you can see how many, this is all vermiculite, you can see all the roots that have come up. And I can see almost right there, I think you can see the beginnings of a little plant. Now the one that already made its own little plant looks, it's sort of, oh, here it is. It does not look great, and I don't know really why, but it is still alive. It does have a little plant, but this, like this one, has really got, if I can get this, it's got 2 little plants on it, see them, and lots of roots. So super fun. I'm really excited about those. And then here I just had this break off, and I stuck it in the ground, and it will get me some roots, and I can just put it right back in whole, just like that, as a whole plant. I just found it on the ground. Some creature must have broken it off. Got the wonderful begonia. And then back here, I haven't gone back here, it's so loud. But I've got a little white zinnia growing back here, and some Cape Plumbago. This rose is called Martha Gonzalez, and you absolutely, it is a winner. You can't kill it. You can't go wrong. And I need to trim my purple hyacinth bean vine. It's all on here, and then it looks so pretty, and on this fence, and it's covering up my chicken, which I'm happy to not see him. And oh, you can see a few. It's a pretty little pod. Look how beautiful that pod, sort of mottled purple and green. Just gorgeous. I love this vine. And it's just, grow it from seed, and you can't go wrong. It will climb over things. So I've had to cut it out of this rose bush. This is Mrs. B.R. Cant, and it is blooming. I've trimmed this hard this week, and we climbed up, had some help. We climbed all the way up into here and walked on the fence, and gave it a big haircut. And you can actually already see, goodness, I mean, that was only 5 days ago, and it's already got new growth on it. And so, and that's all over. I'm just noticing now, it's got little bits of new growth there. There's some there. So that's what happens. It only takes a few days for a rose. I'm fertilized it also, but it only takes a few days for a rose to really put on some new growth. This is a native milkweed called, the variety is called perennis, and I'm just noticing, look at that big old seed pod. This is what I planted over in those strawberry boxes, and they haven't come up yet. There's another little pod. This, you know how sometimes you walk around your yard and you'll throw a seed packet on the ground, like, okay, I'm gonna plant these here, and you're making your ideas. Well, I threw a seed packet of native, somebody had given me, of native milkweed. I have no idea the variety, and I forgot about it. And it disintegrated into the dirt, and it all came up. And so I just keep watering it, but you can see it's basically the size of a seed packet. So, and the other one, I had 2 seed packets here, and the other one disappeared, just completely disintegrated into the dirt, and nothing came up. But so I don't know what this is going to be, but it's a native milkweed. So I'm watching that and having fun watching that. This agastache still covered in bees. I've been trying to judiciously prune it so that the bees have plenty, but I'm also getting some new growth, and I'm pruning it to stand back up a little bit. And I've got, this is a Gentle Hermione rose, and I'm trying to get it to bloom and get enough sun. It really gets sun over here, but it's kind of blocked by this and kind of blocked by that. So I trimmed some things back, and I'm trying to get it going. This is a pretty view right here, I'm noticing. I love the little inflorescences of the grasses, and then the different kind of grass back there. I'm getting a few little roses from, the name of this rose is 290 Pink Buttons. And it is so tiny. You can see how big the rose is. They're just tiny little things. Really sweet, really pretty. This Peter's Purple Monarda. Every once in a while I've cut out some dead pieces, but really it's been all right. It's looking pretty good. It actually looks like it's got a little bit of new growth on it, but I don't think that'll bloom again until the spring. But it looks pretty. And this is the Salvia Big Blue, and it's looking pretty good. It's kind of floppy, but I think it looks really pretty. And then I've got a rose here, and that is Souvenir de la Malmaison. It's not blooming. And then I've got this over here, which is Clotilde Super, which is supposed to be a sport of this, but this one's still better. I had a whole bunch of salvia die in here, little sort of medium-sized salvia. And after the flood, they just got too wet. They looked fine before that, the sprinkler flood, and now they're just, every single one of them, this whole space, they're all gone, they were dead. And so I have this little penta in the front yard. It was getting too much shade, and it was just stuck back there, and I couldn't really even see it, unless you climbed back into the flower bed to see it. But I think it's got a really beautiful color, and they're pretty unkillable. I'm hoping that it transplants even though it's 95 outside. And it looks to me like it's like the same color as these cactus zinnias. And so I think they'll look cute together, those two bright colors. And this is really nice. These flowers I can see through the blue looking from my kitchen window. And so they're just like a little happy hot pink peeking out there. And here I've had mostly, pretty much all the scabiosa has died except for this little bit. Everything else has died. I replanted. It was spectacular. These roses are struggling. I just trimmed them and fertilized them, gave them a little mulch, a little Happy Frog soil conditioner, and I'm hoping to sort of revive those for the fall. Here's the back side of that Salvia Lucantha. Let me go close enough for you to see that it's almost blooming. See if I can get back here without falling over. Ah, there's some blooms right there. So this is gonna be just wonderful. Look, all of this is gonna bloom. And it's really, I think, gonna be just gorgeous from the house. But here's the problem. Climb back out here. Here's the problem, is that now that it's gotten so tall, you can see all the supports in the middle of it all, and it got super leggy at the bottom. And if it wasn't in the support, you can see this part is all fallen over. This part's all sort of got a gap. This part's all fallen over. If it wasn't inside a support, it didn't matter if it was the small, the medium, or the large support. If it wasn't in the support, it's basically gonna lie down. So, you know, if I walk around here, you can see this huge gap. And you know, this little bit here is in the small support, and this chunk is in the medium. And so it doesn't look terrific from back here. It'll still flower and be beautiful. When I came home and it was, you know, after the flood and all the mud, I chopped a bunch of it off right here. I just had new clippers and I thought it would be fun. And it seems to, you know, I don't know if that'll bloom, but you know, it's come back a little bit. But you can see here, this is just basically lying on the ground. It's blooming and beautiful, but it's basically lying on the ground, which is what I was trying to avoid. So I still don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know how to make this an altogether more beautiful plant that is gorgeous and blooms without falling down. So I'm not sure how to make that happen, but this has been a great experiment, and it's still gonna be absolutely gorgeous from the house, which is how I see the garden, you know, 95% of the time anyway. And then I've got this, I trimmed a little bit in here. This is that Salvia Amistad, and it really is gorgeous. you really just can't quite see this dark purple unless you're out here. It doesn't read well as purple from the walkway. But when you get up close, it's very pretty. This might be getting replaced by a Texas redbud. And then I'm trying to find the perfect gigantic pot to dig this olive tree up and put it in a pot and somewhere else in the yard. I'm not sure where. And then everything down here got a big haircut. The Salvia Lucantha got a big haircut. And I've seen lots of hummingbirds zipping around on this fire spike, which is super fun to see. And then I had this, I've got this Gulf Coast penstemon. It looked really terrible today. It had gotten really dried out. But it seems to have sort of popped back up after a good water today. And then I think this is Salvia Lucantha here in a little clump coming up. And then the most fun thing, I'll end on this, it's getting too long. The most fun thing is this ivy geranium. You remember how all the leaves went yellow? And so for about a month, I have been fertilizing it. Now, some of these look yellow because they're in the sun, but they have all gone green again, and it's blooming again, which is really fun. I am so surprised. I can see a couple of little yellow leaves still, but this is not new growth. These leaves turned from yellow back into green leaves, and I'm so thrilled with that. And then this one, which I've also been fertilizing, I wish it would get some new growth up here. It looks a little bit bare, but from the side, it's blooming, it's hanging over the beautiful pot. And so I really haven't grown these, so I don't know whether I ought to trim some of this and hope for new growth. There's a little new leaf there. It's a little new leaf there. So I'm not quite sure. I don't really know. I haven't really grown this before this year, so. And this is still looking awesome. I love this, but because it's really gets a lot more sun here than it did where it was a couple of weeks ago, I'm really having to water it absolutely every day. Just soak it. It's fantastic. Angel wing, some people call them dragon wing begonias. And then you may say, gosh, what another amazing dragon wing begonia. What a great gardener you are. No, I just bought that the other day. The other one died. So that's all, not me. That's all Cornelius Nursery's work. And I'm just now the new caretaker. And I've taken a bunch of cuttings from this and rooted them in a jar in the kitchen. And they got tons of roots on them, and I just put them in a little dirt today. Oh, and I'll end on. So sometimes patience will get you somewhere. I planted, I think they're called oxblood lilies. Sometimes they're called schoolhouse lilies because they always bloom kind of around the first day of school. I planted these 10 years ago, and they have never, ever, ever bloomed. Not a once. And look at that. I am so excited. And obviously I missed one. I never even saw this little stalk, but I am so excited. It's so beautiful. And it just popped up. I mean, honestly, I think I must have planted it when we moved here in, I don't know, 2009. So I'm thrilled. Such a little surprise, such a little gift. This is a Turk's cap, which is a native Texas plant. And this is the biggest it's gotten this year. It's just really, really looking great. And then if you're looking for a vine, I highly recommend, this is Rangoon Creeper, and it died to the ground in the winter. I planted it under trees, so it doesn't have enough sun to bloom, but it is an incredibly beautiful blooming vine, and I really highly recommend it. If you're looking for a vine, take a look for Rangoon Creepers. Well, thanks for taking a walk through my garden with me today. see if I can get out, come back over to my favorite flower in the yard today, which I think was my favorite flower a couple weeks ago. Y'all have a great week. Take care. Bye-bye.